Hello, I'm Marianne Mashiri and this is the Iran War Today, our daily briefing bringing you up to date with all you need to know in the US-Israel war with Iran. Well, let's start with some of today's key developments. Growing concerns that the Iran conflict could widen after the US said it hit zones of targets linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guards. The attacks were in retaliation for Tuesday's missile strike on an American base in Jordan and came hours after President Trump vowed to hit Iran very hard, ending a days-long pause in fighting between the two sides. Iran continues to attack targets across the region. Kuwait says an Iranian strike on a building in the north of the country killed one person. Jordan says it shot down 5 Iranian missiles. The Egyptian government says a fire that broke out on Wednesday on 2 gas storage vessels in the Mediterranean port of Damietta was caused by a drone attack. It didn't say who may have been responsible. It's the first time Egypt has been targeted since the outbreak of the Iran war 5 months ago. Well, let's start with the US military and what it described as a heavy wave of strikes against Iran carried out in retaliation for recent Iranian attacks on US bases in Jordan and at ships in the Strait of Hormuz. Iranian state media said the strikes killed at least 3 people, including a 2-year-old child on Keshm Island. Other locations were also hit in the south and west of the country. Well, our White House reporter Bern de Boosman is with us. And Bern, President Trump has vowed to retaliate. Is this a response he was talking about?
Well, it could be. The strike that took place last night against dozens of targets inside Iran was certainly larger than the ones we had seen in the previous few weeks, but it's unclear if this is the beginning of a longer and more sustained campaign. There had been some reporting that suggested that Admiral Bradley Cooper, the head of Central Command, had prepared a plan for 2 weeks of sustained operations against Iran. But here in Washington, many people are concerned about that. For one, there's the issue of munition stockpiles. Some of the weapons that have been most heavily used in this conflict, including last night, Patriot air defense missiles and long-range strike missiles like the Tomahawk, those are severely depleted without any prospect of quick refills of those stocks that are actually in theater. So at the moment, it's kind of unclear whether the U.S. could even sustain such a prolonged, intense conflict as we saw during Operation Epic Fury, or whether the retaliatory strikes that President Trump promised would have to be smaller in scale and tempo than before.
OK, Bern, thank you very much indeed. Well, following the latest round of US strikes, Iran has continued attacks across the region. Jordan's armed forces said air defense systems had successfully shot down 5 Iranian missiles targeting the kingdom. And Kuwait says an Iranian strike on a building in the north of the country has killed 1 person. With me now is Kasra Naji from BBC Persian. Kasra, how have Iranian officials reacted to these American strikes, and is further retaliation expected?
Well, they lashed out at a military base, US military base in Jordan, and also they attacked a target in Kuwait, killing 1 person. In Jordan, they said they destroyed some 3 F-35 fighter jets and damaged 3 others, but the US side is denying that, saying nothing has happened, nothing has been damaged. It looks as if Iran's strategy at this point is to extend this geographical part of this war geographically, and with the aim of raising the price of oil. Because they think that is the weak point on for the Americans and for the world economy, and that would rising prices of oil would put pressure on the American side. And don't forget, ultimately, the 2 sides, they know that they will have to go back to the negotiating table. So they're trying to make sure that once they arrive at that point, they have the upper hand.
But does Iran want to negotiate right now?
Yes, because they know there's no military win in this. Ultimately, they have to negotiate and end the war somehow. They cannot defeat the American military. They know that. So they want to have the upper hand when it comes to the negotiating table, when they are there across the table, across from each other. So they have the upper hand and they can get a better deal and good deal. So that's the aim. And for that, to get there, the prices of oil will put enough pressure to bring that point closer and Iran in a better shape.
Okay, Councillor, good to talk to you. Thank you. Well, now to Egypt, because Egypt seems to have been drawn into the conflict. The Egyptian government says a drone attack caused a fire that broke out on 2 vessels at the Mediterranean port of Damietta on Wednesday. Authorities say operations at the port have since returned to normal. Rahab Ismail from BBC Arabic has more on this from Cairo.
The Egyptian cabinet said no group has claimed responsibility for Wednesday's attack so far, adding that investigations are continuing and the authorities are taking measures to safeguard Egypt's national security and interests. The Ministry of Petroleum said that the fire affected a floating storage unit and a regasification vessel, with emergency crews bringing the blaze under control and no casualties reported. US President Donald Trump said he had been briefed on the incident, describing it as part of the same thing, without identifying those responsible. Damietta port on Egypt's Mediterranean coast is home to one of the country's 2 LNG plants and is a key part of Egypt's energy infrastructure.
Well, the war, which the President Trump initially said would only last a few weeks, has now gone on for 5 months with no end in sight. Let's take a look now at how the conflict is widening. 10 days ago, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen announced a naval blockade on Saudi Arabia and have launched several attacks on vessels in the Red Sea, a crucial global trade and energy corridor. On Tuesday, Iran launched a surprise attack aimed at American troops in Jordan and also targeted Saudi oil facilities. In retaliation, US and Saudi forces launched its first coordinated military operation in more than a decade, striking Iran-aligned groups in eastern Iraq. Iran's attacks on the Strait of Hormuz have also continued, firing missiles at 3 ships. Well, Oman has been trying to broker a deal over managing the critical trade route, but Iran has rejected its latest proposal for joint control. And of course, as we've been hearing now, Egypt has also been affected with an unidentified drone attack. Well, let's look at the wider picture now with our security correspondent, Frank Gardner. And Frank, this is the first time Egypt has been targeted in this way since the war broke out. So what is the risk of this leading to a wider escalation of this conflict?
Well, it doesn't have to, but certainly if you look at the map and look at all those countries you've mentioned, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Egypt, Yemen, it certainly appears at first glance that this war has expanded well beyond the Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. But it's not irreversible. The drone strike on Egypt, who knows where it came from? There is one US media outlet, the New York Times, is saying that they've spoken to Iranian sources, saying that it was Iran, showing that it could hit them wherever. That's not been confirmed by any official Iranian source. So it may well be just a one-off. Egypt is not a part of this war. With Yemen, their beef is really with the Saudis. The Saudis bombed Sana'a airport to stop an Iranian plane from landing a few days ago. And the Houthis, who control much of Yemen, retaliated, and they've been attacking shipping and firing at regional towns nearby, Abha and Jizan in the southern part of Saudi Arabia. And then you've got an Iranian ally up in Iraq, the PMF, the Popular Mobilization Forces. But let's just kind of step back a bit from all this and try to work out where it's going, because to my mind, Mariam, the Iranians have a very simple strategy. It's resilience. They've only got to survive to win, and they can make life very uncomfortable for the Americans. They've hit or destroyed up to 13 bases that the Americans have got in the region. They've made them very difficult to operate from. America is hurting with this. Now, obviously, the US has got much greater firepower, but it doesn't seem to have a strategy beyond hitting Iran harder and harder. And so far, the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, are not giving in. They're digging their heels in, because even though they're hurting, their economy is in tatters, the Iranian rial is plummeting, and yet they know that time is probably on their side, because every day, every week that this goes on, global trade suffers, and that means more pressure on the US administration to end this. And that means probably ending it on terms that Iran likes and the US is not going to like. And that's going to be very difficult to present that as anything other than failure for the US.
Okay. Frank Gardner, thank you very much. Whether you're joining us on YouTube, TikTok, Sounds, radio or TV, thanks for watching. This is the Iran War Today.